Welcome back, ZE Coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious coins in American history, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This isn't just any old penny sitting in your change jar. It's a coin with a story that stretches back to World War II, filled with secrets, rare variations, and a value that could surprise even seasoned collectors. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this little copper coin from 1942 has become a hidden treasure in the world of numismatics, and you'll definitely want to check your own collection after this. History and background. To understand the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, we need to go back to the early 1940s, a time when the United States was in the midst of World War II. Resources were limited, industries were shifting toward wartime production, and even something as simple as coinage faced dramatic changes. In 1942, the U.S. Mint continued to strike the iconic Lincoln Wheat Cent, designed by Victor David Brenner, who first introduced this design back in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. The obverse, or front of the coin, features the dignified portrait of Lincoln, a design that remains one of the most enduring and beloved in American coinage. On the reverse, the wheat ears stand proudly on both sides, symbolizing prosperity and growth, with the words, 1 cent, and, United States of America, engraved between them. At this point in history, the composition of the Lincoln cent was still 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the same formula that had been used for decades. But that was about to change dramatically because of the war effort. By 1943, the U.S. Mint temporarily switched from copper to steel to conserve copper for ammunition and military equipment. But that story actually began in 1942, making that year's penny an important transitional coin for collectors. Mint marks and production. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced at 3 different U.S. Mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint struck millions of coins, but as we'll see, not all pennies are created equal. Coins minted in Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark. Those from Denver feature a small D just below the date, and the ones from San Francisco bear an S. While the Philadelphia Mint produced the most coins that year, some of the most valuable and collectible 1942 pennies come from the San Francisco and Denver mints, particularly if they're in pristine, uncirculated condition or have unique minting errors. Here's an interesting fact: over 950 million Lincoln cents were struck in 1942. That might sound like a lot, but with over 8 decades gone by, finding one in gem condition is incredibly rare today. The coins that have survived in mint state condition are now cherished by collectors worldwide. Design details and what to look for. If you happen to come across a 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the first thing to do is examine it closely. The coin should feature Lincoln facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust," arching above his head. The word "Liberty" appears to his left, and the date, 1942, to his right. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are crisp and detailed, with the denomination and e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, placed elegantly at the top. What makes 1942 pennies especially intriguing are their potential variations and striking errors. Collectors have discovered a number of fascinating varieties, such as double die errors, repunched mint marks, known as RPMs, and off-center strikes. Any of these can add significant value to a coin. Key varieties and errors. 1942 double die obverse, DDO, this is one of the most sought-after error types. If you look carefully at the word "Liberty" or the date, 1942, you might see a shadowed doubling effect. These coins are extremely rare and can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. 1942 D repunched mint mark, RPM, on some Denver minted coins, you might notice a faint second D mint mark slightly overlapping the first. This repunched mint mark is a minting variety that collectors love to chase. Off-center strike or broad strike errors. A few 1942 pennies were struck improperly, resulting in off-center images or distorted rims. These striking errors can make a coin highly desirable and valuable. 1942 proof cents. While regular circulation coins are common, proof coins from this year are much rarer. Proof cents were made in very limited numbers, mainly for collectors, and are known for their mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. If you find a 1942 proof Lincoln penny in pristine condition, you've got something special. Rarity and collector demand. Even though 1942 pennies were produced in large quantities, not many have survived in excellent condition. Most coins from that era circulated heavily during wartime. People were using every cent they had, literally, to make ends meet, and coins wore down quickly. Today, finding a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with original luster, no scratches, and crisp details is becoming increasingly difficult. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, as MS-65 or higher can bring impressive prices at auctions and collector markets. Collectors are particularly fond of red or red-brown examples, terms used to describe the original color of copper coins. The brighter and redder the tone, the higher the value, since that means the coin has been well preserved and hasn't oxidized over time. Historical significance: the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny carries more than just monetary value, it represents a period of great change in America. During this time, citizens were buying war bonds, rationing supplies, and supporting troops overseas. Every material, from metal to rubber, was precious. It's incredible to think that the humble penny we hold today was once a vital part of that wartime economy. People used these coins daily, unaware that decades later, they would become valuable collectibles. For many collectors, owning a 1942 penny feels like holding a piece of that history in their hands, a connection to a time when America was united in purpose and sacrifice. Tips for identifying a valuable 1942 penny: check the mint mark, always look for the small letter under the date. Coins from Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, can carry premium value, especially in higher grades. Look for doubling or mint errors. If you spot doubled lettering or numbers, you might have a rare variation. Evaluate the color and luster. A bright red 1942 penny with minimal wear can be worth much more than a dull brown one. Consider professional grading. Having your coin graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC can significantly boost its resale value. Avoid cleaning. Never clean an old penny. Cleaning can damage the surface and drastically reduce its collector value. Market value and auctions. Over the years, 1942 Lincoln wheat pennies have appeared in countless coin shows, estate sales, and online auctions. Prices can vary wildly depending on the coin's condition, rarity, and error type. A circulated 1942 penny might fetch anywhere from a few cents to a few dollars. However, uncirculated or high-grade coins, especially those with mint errors, can sell for much more. Proof coins, or those certified in gem condition, have been known to command prices in the hundreds. What's more fascinating is that passionate collectors are willing to pay premium prices for coins that stand out. A 1942 D or 1942 S in pristine mint state condition could be the centerpiece of any Lincoln wheat collection. Why collectors love the 1942 penny? There's something magical about the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. It connects generations, from grandparents who use these coins in daily life to modern collectors who appreciate their beauty and history. The 1942 edition, in particular, bridges two eras, the pre-war copper coins and the wartime steel cents of 1943. It marks the end of an era before the U.S. Mint made one of its most significant composition changes. That's why collectors consider the 1942 penny not only valuable but also symbolic, a snapshot of a world on the brink of transformation. Interesting facts: more than 85% of all 1942 pennies in circulation today show significant wear, making mint state examples quite scarce. Some collectors mistakenly believe 1942 pennies were made of steel, but that didn't happen until 1943. The 1942 proof sets are among the most sought after by collectors, especially if the coins maintain their mirror finish. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny lasted from 1909 until 1958, nearly 50 years, before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. How to preserve and display your 1942 penny. If you're lucky enough to own a 1942 wheat penny, store it properly. Use a protective coin holder or capsule to prevent scratches and oxidation. Keep it in a cool, dry place away from humidity, and avoid touching the surface with your bare hands. Natural oils from your skin can cause corrosion over time. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and legendary coins in American numismatic history, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. This small, copper-colored coin may look ordinary to the untrained eye, but hidden within it lies a story of wartime innovation, minting mistakes, and incredible collector value. So, if you've ever wondered whether that old 1944 penny sitting in your drawer could be worth a fortune, this video is for you. Make sure to watch until the end, because we'll reveal just how much some of these coins are selling for, and you won't believe the final value. History and background. Let's start with a bit of history, because to truly appreciate the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, we need to understand what was happening in America at that time. The year was 1944. The United States was still deeply involved in World War II. Copper, which was usually used to make pennies, was a critical metal needed for ammunition and military equipment. During the previous year, in 1943, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic decision to temporarily change the material of the penny from copper to zinc-coated steel. This change was meant to conserve copper for the war effort, and the 1943 steel penny was born, but the experiment didn't go exactly as planned. The steel pennies were often mistaken for dimes, and worse, they rusted easily. People complained, and the mint quickly switched back to the familiar copper alloy in 1944. However, due to the chaos of wartime production, some rare mistakes occurred, and those mistakes are what makes certain 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies so incredibly valuable today. Design and symbolism. Before we get into the value and the rare varieties, let's take a close look at the design. The 1944 wheat penny features the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be seen on the shoulder of Lincoln's portrait. Above Lincoln's head, the words, "In God We Trust," remind us of America's enduring faith, while "Liberty" stands proudly to the left. The date, 1944, sits neatly to the right, with the mint mark, if there is one, directly below it. On the reverse, we see two wheat stalks curving along the edges, symbolizing prosperity and growth. Between them are the words, 1 cent and United States of America, with the national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, written above. It's a simple but powerful design that has captured the hearts of collectors for over a century. Mint marks and locations. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at 3 different U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint produced millions of these coins, but the details can make all the difference when it comes to value. The Philadelphia mint coins have no mint mark and were the most common. They are still collectible, especially in high grades, but they don't hold the same rarity as some others. The Denver mint pennies are marked with a small d under the date, and the San Francisco coins carry an S. But here's where things get interesting. Among these ordinary coins, there exist ultra-rare errors and varieties that were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchets, and that's where the big money comes in. The famous 1944 steel penny error. One of the most famous errors in U.S. coin history is the 1944 steel penny. You heard that right. In 1944, even though the mint had switched back to copper, a small number of steel planchets left over from 1943 somehow found their way into the presses. The result was a 1944 penny made of steel instead of copper, a complete minting mistake. Only a few dozen of these coins are known to exist, and they are among the most valuable pennies ever discovered. The 1944 steel penny comes in a few variations: 1944, no mint mark, 1944 D, and 1944 S. Each one is rare, but the 1944 S steel penny is especially legendary. Collectors have paid tens of thousands, and sometimes even hundreds of thousands, of dollars for these error coins. So, if you ever find a silvery-colored 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, don't toss it away. You might just be holding one of the rarest coins in U.S. history. The opposite error, 1943 copper penny. Now, for a quick comparison, let's mention the flip side of this error. In 1943, when pennies were supposed to be made of steel, a few were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets from 1942. These 1943 copper pennies are also incredibly rare and valuable. Together, the 1943 copper and 1944 steel pennies represent some of the most famous minting mistakes of all time. Regular 1944 copper pennies. Of course, not every 1944 penny is made of steel. Most of them were produced with the standard bronze composition, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Over 1 billion of these were minted across all 3 facilities. While common in lower grades, their value increases significantly when in uncirculated or proof-like condition. A 1944 penny that has been well preserved with full red color and sharp details can be worth far more than face value. Collectors often grade these coins from good to mint state, with the highest grades bringing in strong prices at auctions. When it comes to determining the value of a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, several factors come into play. Condition: the better the condition, the higher the value. Coins with full red luster and no signs of wear can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Mint mark: some mint marks are rarer than others. The mint mark from San Francisco, for example, can sometimes carry a premium. Errors and varieties, off-center strikes, double dies, and other minting mistakes can add tremendous value. Metal composition: the steel versions or any unique composition errors are the true treasures that can be worth life-changing amounts. Collectors and investors have been chasing these rare pennies for decades, and some incredible auction results have been recorded. A pristine 1944 steel penny once sold for tens of thousands of dollars at a major auction. Another, in nearly perfect condition, fetched an even higher price, proof that even a 1-cent coin can become a priceless gem. And even regular 1944 copper pennies in superb condition have achieved strong prices when sold through reputable auction houses. Collectors around the world are always looking for examples with brilliant red luster and sharp details. So, how can you tell if your 1944 penny is rare? Here's what you can do: check the metal. The easiest test is to use a magnet. If your 1944 penny sticks to a magnet, it might be one of the ultra-rare steel versions. Be cautious though. Some counterfeiters try to plate ordinary steel pennies with copper to fool collectors. Examine the mint mark. Look closely under the date for a D or S. Rare varieties may have repunched mint marks or doubling. Inspect the color and condition. Original red luster adds value. Cleaned or damaged coins are worth less. Consult a professional. If you think you have something special, it's always best to have your coin authenticated and graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. What makes the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny so beloved among collectors isn't just its rarity or value, it's the story it carries. This coin represents a time when America was fighting for freedom, when every piece of metal mattered, and when mistakes at the mint created treasures that would fascinate people for generations. The fact that such a tiny coin can tell such a huge story is part of what makes coin collecting so captivating. Each coin is a snapshot of history, of the economy, the technology, and the people who lived during that era. You might be wondering, is it still possible to find a 1944 penny today? The answer is yes. Millions were made, and many are still out there, hiding in old jars, drawers, or coin rolls. You could even find one in your pocket change, though the odds of finding a rare steel version are incredibly slim. Still, the excitement of searching for that hidden gem keeps collectors hooked. Coin roll hunting, estate sales, flea markets, and online auctions are all great places to start your search. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny continues to be one of the most popular coins among both beginner and expert collectors. It marks the return to the traditional bronze composition after a year of experimentation, and its connection to World War II gives it special historical significance. Even if you never find a rare variety, owning a 1944 penny is like holding a piece of America's wartime resilience. It's a symbol of innovation, resourcefulness, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, a man whose leadership helped shape the nation. In the end, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is more than just a coin. It's a window into a time of change and challenge, a reminder of the incredible stories that small objects can hold. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, the 1944 penny has something magical to offer. We're diving deep into the 1948 wheat penny, exploring its background, minting details, rarity, varieties, and how one of these coins can be worth an impressive amount of money even today. Let's begin by taking a trip back in time to the post-war era of the late 1940s. America had just come through World War II, and the nation was entering a period of optimism, economic growth, and change. The Lincoln cent, which had been first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already become one of the most beloved coins in American history. By 1948, the wheat penny design, featuring two stalks of wheat surrounding the words, 1 cent, on the reverse, was still going strong. The obverse of the coin displays the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. It's the same design we still see on our pennies today, though the reverse has since changed. The 1948 wheat penny was minted in 3 different U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint produced millions of these coins, but as we'll soon discover, not all were created equal. The Philadelphia mint coins carry no mint mark and were the most widely struck that year. Over 317 million were produced there alone. Denver produced about 172 million coins, marked with a small D mint mark just below the date. Meanwhile, the San Francisco mint struck around 81 million coins, bearing the S mint mark. Although these numbers may seem large, finding well-preserved examples today is another story entirely. Back in 1948, pennies were truly a part of everyday life. They were used constantly, in soda machines, candy shops, grocery stores, and even payphones. Because of that, most of the wheat pennies from the late 1940s were circulated heavily. The average coin from that time shows plenty of wear, smooth details on Lincoln's hair, flattened wheat stalks, and faded lettering. That's why finding a 1948 wheat penny in pristine condition can be such a rare and exciting discovery. But what exactly determines the value of a 1948 Lincoln wheat penny today? Several factors come into play, including its mint mark, condition, color, and any rare errors or varieties that might make it stand out. Let's break those down one by one. First, we have to talk about condition, which in the world of coin collecting is often referred to as grade. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, P1, to mint state, MS, 70. A 1948 penny that has been heavily used might only be worth a few cents to $1. But one that has survived in mint state condition, meaning it has no wear and retains all its original shine, can sell for significantly more. Collectors especially love coins with what's called red or red-brown color, which refers to the way the copper has aged over time. Freshly minted Lincoln cents were a bright reddish-orange color, but as they circulated, they began to darken to brown. Finding a 1948 penny that still gleams red after more than 75 years is truly special. Now let's talk about mint marks. Among the 1948 wheat pennies, the Philadelphia version without a mint mark is the most common. The Denver and San Francisco coins, while produced in smaller numbers, are also highly sought after in uncirculated grades. The 1948 D and 1948 S wheat pennies can bring higher values because collectors often try to complete full sets of Lincoln cents by mint mark and year, but where things get especially exciting is when we talk about varieties and minting errors. Every now and then, something unusual happens during the minting process: a double die, a repunched mint mark, an off-center strike, or even a planchet error, and that's when an ordinary penny becomes a treasure point. One of the known varieties from 1948 is the 1948 D/D/D repunched mint mark. This occurs when the mint mark D was punched into the die twice, slightly off from the first impression, causing a doubled appearance. Under magnification, you can actually see the faint outline of the original D beneath the second one. Coins like these are not only rare but highly collectible, and their value can rise dramatically depending on clarity and condition. Collectors also pay close attention to die cracks, lamination errors, and die clashes from this period. A die crack might show a raised line across the surface of the coin, while a lamination error can appear as a flake or split in the copper surface. Each of these minting imperfections tells a story about the machinery and conditions of the U.S. Mint during that era. They're a reminder that even in the precise world of coin production, mistakes happen, and those mistakes can turn into money. To truly appreciate the 1948 Lincoln wheat penny, it helps to remember its place in American history. By 1948, Abraham Lincoln's image had been on the cent for nearly 4 decades, symbolizing honesty, unity, and the spirit of the nation. The coin served not just as currency but as a piece of cultural pride. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image of liberty, and it changed American coin design forever. Copper, the metal used in these pennies, also holds historical significance. Each 1948 wheat penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. During World War II, the U.S. Mint had briefly switched to steel cents in 1943 to save copper for the war effort. But by 1948, copper had returned, making these coins part of the post-war recovery. Holding a 1948 penny is like holding a small piece of American resilience, a symbol of a nation rebuilding and moving forward. For those who love coin collecting, or numismatics as it's officially called, the thrill of discovering a rare penny like the 1948 wheat is unmatched. Imagine searching through old coin rolls, a jar of pennies, or a box inherited from a grandparent, and suddenly spotting one of these old wheatback designs. Your heart starts to race as you notice the date, 1948. You flip it over and see those iconic wheat stalks. Then you check the condition and the mint mark, hoping it's a rare variation. That moment of discovery is what keeps collectors hooked for life. Today, a standard 1948 penny in circulated condition might be worth only a few cents or $1. However, once you move into higher grades, the story changes quickly. A 1948 Lincoln wheat penny in mint state red condition can fetch much higher prices at auctions. And if it's an error coin or an especially well-preserved example with full details and luster, the value can skyrocket even more. Coin grading companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, have documented many examples of 1948 wheat pennies in exceptional condition that have sold for large sums of money. Collectors often send their coins in for authentication and grading, as a certified grade can dramatically increase the coin's resale value. If you happen to find a 1948 penny with a repunched mint mark or one in full red mint state condition, it could easily be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The market for vintage coins has remained strong over the years, with serious collectors always looking to complete their wheat penny collections from 1909 to 1958. For anyone hoping to identify a valuable 1948 penny, here are some tips. Start by examining the color. Red coins bring the highest premiums. Next, look at the surfaces. The fewer marks, the better. Then, check the strike details. Lincoln's beard, coat lines, and the wheat stalks should all appear crisp. Finally, use a magnifying glass to inspect the date and mint mark area for doubling or repunching. It's also worth noting that coin values are constantly changing based on collector demand, auction results, and market trends. What might be worth a few $100s today could be worth much more in the future, especially as the supply of high-grade coins continues to shrink over time. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who loves the idea of hidden treasure, the 1948 Lincoln wheat penny is a coin worth paying attention to. Its charm lies in its simplicity, its connection to history, and its surprising potential value. In the end, the 1948 wheat penny reminds us that even the smallest piece of metal can hold a big story. It's a link to a moment in American history when the country was strong, hopeful, and looking toward the future. These coins passed through countless hands, from farmers to factory workers, from soldiers returning home to children buying their first piece of candy, each one adding its own chapter to the story of this humble cent. We're diving deep into the world of classic American coins, specifically, the 1950 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. This is not just another ordinary coin in your pocket change. This little copper beauty holds history, charm, and surprising value for collectors who truly know what to look for. So if you've ever wondered whether that old penny sitting in your drawer might be worth something, stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll discover exactly why the 1950 wheat penny has become one of the most fascinating coins of mid-20th century America. Let's begin our exciting journey back in time, all the way to the year 1950. An era marked by post-war prosperity, economic growth, and the rise of a new America. During this time, pennies weren't just currency, they were pieces of American pride, symbols of hard work, and reflections of the nation's progress. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint. That's what the D mint mark stands for, and it carries the legacy of one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, the Lincoln cent. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin was the first American cent to feature a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. On the front, or obverse, we see the dignified profile of Lincoln, facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," along the top edge, "Liberty," on the left, and the date, 1950, followed by that tiny yet important D mint mark just below it. On the back, or reverse, you'll find two wheat stalks arching gracefully along the sides, framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above, meaning, out of many, one. These wheat ears gave the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. This design ran from 1909 to 1958, before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Now let's talk about how many of these 1950 D wheat pennies were minted. In total, the Denver Mint produced approximately 334,950,000 of them. That's nearly 335 million coins. At first glance, that number might make you think the coin isn't rare. But don't be fooled. The true magic lies in condition, errors, and varieties, details that can turn a common coin into a collector's dream. When these pennies first rolled out of the Denver Mint, they were made primarily of copper, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Because of this composition, the coin has a warm reddish-brown glow that collectors adore. However, over decades of circulation, most of these coins lost their original luster, turning dark brown or dull due to oxidation. But if you happen to find a 1950 D penny that still has that bright red mint luster, with sharp details and no signs of wear, then you might be looking at a coin worth far more than its face value of 1 cent. In fact, even lightly circulated examples can fetch a few dollars, while uncirculated ones, especially those graded high by professional coin grading services, can reach impressive prices. Now, let's explore what makes certain 1950 D Lincoln wheat pennies so special. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is the hunt for errors and varieties, tiny mistakes made during the minting process that make each coin unique. And the 1950 D series has its share of these fascinating minting quirks. For instance, one well-known variety is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. This happens when the D mint mark was stamped more than once, slightly off position each time, creating a visible doubling effect. Some repunched mint mark varieties show the second D slightly above, below, or to the side of the first one. Collectors absolutely love these varieties because they reveal the imperfections of the minting process and offer a tangible piece of history from an era before digital precision. Another factor that can greatly influence a coin's value is its grade. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, where 1 represents a coin that's nearly unrecognizable from wear, and 70 is a perfect, flawless specimen straight from the mint. A 1950 D wheat penny in circulated condition might be worth just a few cents or a couple of dollars, but a brilliant uncirculated piece graded MS 67 or higher can skyrocket in value. Imagine holding in your hand a 1950 D Lincoln penny that still gleams with that fiery red shine, its edges crisp, Lincoln's coat lines sharp, and every wheat grain visible on the reverse. Such coins are rare survivors, carefully preserved by collectors or forgotten in storage until rediscovered decades later. The beauty of collecting coins like the 1950 D wheat penny lies not just in their monetary value but in the stories they tell. Each coin has passed through countless hands. Maybe it bought a loaf of bread, paid for a bus ticket, or was tucked away by a child starting their first coin collection in the 1950s. Think about how many lives that single penny might have touched, how many pockets it has traveled through over 70 years. That's what makes it magical. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the Denver Mint itself. Founded in 1906, the Denver Mint played a crucial role in America's coinage production, especially during the mid-20th century. By 1950, Denver was striking some of the finest quality Lincoln cents in the nation. The precision, care, and craftsmanship that went into each of these small copper coins reflected America's industrial pride. Over the years, the 1950 D penny has steadily gained attention among collectors. It's not the rarest wheat penny ever made, but it has a special charm because it marks the post-war era, a time when the U.S. economy was booming, and coins like these were symbols of opportunity. Many collectors view it as a must-have piece to complete a full Lincoln cent set. For new collectors, the 1950 D is an excellent entry point. It's affordable in lower grades but can reach remarkable values in pristine condition, making it an exciting challenge to find one that stands out. If you're searching for one, make sure to check its surfaces carefully. Look for a rich red color, no scratches or nicks, and strong, defined wheat stalks on the reverse. Let's talk about storage and preservation. Because copper is highly reactive, proper storage is crucial to maintaining the value of your 1950 penny. Always keep your coins in a cool, dry environment, ideally in a protective coin holder or slab that prevents air exposure. Avoid cleaning your coins. Cleaning can drastically reduce their value. Even though it might seem like polishing would make the coin more attractive, collectors actually prefer the natural patina that forms over time. One of the most exciting things about the 1950 penny is how often people still find them in circulation or tucked away in old jars. Because billions of wheat pennies were minted, they still appear occasionally in rolls of pennies or family heirlooms. Imagine checking your change one day and realizing you've been holding onto a coin that's over 70 years old and potentially worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. The coin market is also heavily influenced by demand and collector interest. Over the past few decades, interest in Lincoln wheat cents has skyrocketed, driven by nostalgia and a renewed appreciation for early American coinage. Collectors love the simplicity of the design, the historical tie to Abraham Lincoln, and the tangible link to America's past. Now, let's take a closer look at what makes one particular 1950 Lincoln wheat penny stand out above the rest. Among all the coins struck that year, a few specimens have achieved near-perfect condition, immaculate surfaces, sharp strikes, and deep red luster. These top-graded coins are the holy grail for collectors. At auction houses and coin conventions, when a flawless 1950 penny graded MS-67 or MS-68 red appears, it sparks excitement. Bidders from around the world compete to own such a pristine piece of mid-century Americana. And this is where we find the truly staggering value of this humble 1-cent coin. A perfect, high-grade example of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, with full red luster, crisp definition, and impeccable preservation, has been sold for an astonishing price of $38,250. That's right, a coin that was worth just 1 cent when it left the Denver Mint in 1950, now valued at $38,250 today. It's an incredible reminder that even the smallest treasures can hold immense worth. The story of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is not only about money, it's about history, craftsmanship, and the joy of discovery. Each coin carries a piece of the American spirit, a reflection of a nation built on hard work and perseverance. From factory workers to farmers, students to soldiers, everyone used these pennies, and each one tells its own story. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins ever struck by the United States Mint, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. This small copper coin from Denver holds a massive place in numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the coins jingling in your pocket, this story will keep you hooked till the end. So, stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll discover why a simple penny from 1952 could be worth a shocking amount of money today. Let's travel back in time to the early 1950s, an era of post-war prosperity, booming industries, and the golden age of American innovation. The year was 1952, and the U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies as part of the long-running series that began in 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln wheat penny became one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American history. On the obverse side of the coin, you see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, facing right. Above his head, the phrase, "In God We Trust," proudly stands as a reminder of national faith and perseverance. To the left of Lincoln's portrait, the word "Liberty" symbolizes the nation's guiding principle, while the date, 1952, appears to the right. Just beneath the date, you'll find the small but significant D Mint mark, showing that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint. Now, let's flip the coin to its reverse side. There, you'll see two elegant stalks of wheat curving along the edges, the hallmark of all Lincoln wheat pennies. Between them lies the bold statement, 1 cent, followed by United States of America. Above this inscription reads the famous Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. Together, these features represent the unity and strength of the United States during a time of immense change. But what makes the 1952 penny so special? After all, millions of them were struck, precisely 746,130,000 coins rolled out of the Denver Mint that year. That's an enormous number. So why do collectors around the world still hunt for this coin with such passion? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and fascinating minting details that make some examples of this penny worth far more than their face value. When coins are minted, not all of them are created equal. Some are struck with sharper dies, better alignment, or cleaner metal planchets, giving them a crisp and flawless appearance. Others suffer from errors, doubling, or striking imperfections that can dramatically increase their rarity and desirability. In the case of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, several varieties and minting quirks have made certain examples incredibly valuable to collectors. One of the most famous varieties associated with this coin is the repunched mint mark, known to collectors as RPM. This happens when the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once, slightly misaligned, creating a doubled or shadowed effect. These varieties are not common and can bring significantly higher prices depending on clarity and preservation. Another interesting detail comes from coins struck with early dies, those used when the die was still fresh and sharp. These early strikes have full, bold details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and wheat stalks, making them extremely desirable in high-grade condition. Coins that were struck later in the die's life tend to appear weaker or less detailed due to die wear. Now, let's talk about the metal composition, a key factor in this penny's beauty and value. The 1952 wheat penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This classic composition gives the coin its deep reddish-brown tone, which can develop rich patinas over time. Collectors love coins that have retained their original, red, luster, especially when stored carefully away from moisture and oxidation. In numismatics, color grading plays a huge role in determining value. Lincoln wheat pennies are usually graded as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN, depending on how much of the original copper brilliance remains. A 1952 penny in fully red condition can be a breathtaking sight, shining with the same glow it had over 70 years ago. Now, condition is everything when it comes to coin collecting. Most 1952 pennies found in circulation today are heavily worn, their surfaces dulled by decades of use. These coins typically have little collector premium, maybe a few cents each. But uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS65, MS66, or MS67 by professional grading services, can fetch eye-popping prices at auctions. For example, a stunning 1952 Lincoln wheat penny graded MS67 red by PCGS or NGC can command thousands of dollars because of its pristine surfaces, sharp strike, and original mint luster. The demand for these high-grade coins continues to rise as collectors compete to build the best Lincoln sets in the world, but there's even more excitement for collectors when it comes to error coins. Some 1952 Lincoln pennies display striking mistakes, like off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or even doubled dies. These minting errors are genuine mechanical mishaps that add a unique twist to the coin story. Each error is different, making these coins true one-of-a-kind treasures. Imagine finding a 1952 wheat penny with a dramatic off-center strike where Lincoln's portrait is shifted halfway off the coin. That's the kind of piece that collectors go crazy for. Depending on the severity and clarity of the error, such coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. What makes the 1952 penny truly exciting is how it bridges two worlds, the everyday and the extraordinary. On one hand, it's a humble 1-cent coin that millions of Americans once used to buy candy, newspapers, or gum. On the other, it's a piece of history, a snapshot of a nation rebuilding itself after World War II and moving toward a new age of prosperity. Every Lincoln wheat penny tells a story. Maybe yours was carried in a soldier's pocket, or passed through a small-town diner, or stashed away in a child's piggy bank decades ago. These coins have lived through history, and now, they're living pieces of it. For collectors, the thrill lies not just in owning a coin, but in uncovering the mystery behind it. You might come across a 1952 penny in your change that looks ordinary, but with a magnifying glass, you could spot a repunched mint mark, a die crack, or a beautiful original shine that makes it far more valuable than it appears. Let's talk about grading for a moment. Professional coin grading is the most trusted way to determine a coin's true market value. Organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, carefully inspect each coin under magnification, grading it on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the more perfect the coin, and the more valuable it becomes. A 1952 LINCOIN penny in MS65 red can already fetch hundreds of dollars. But at MS67 red, it crosses into elite territory, where collectors and investors eagerly bid against each other. Coins of this caliber are not only rare but also works of art, shimmering relics of American craftsmanship. It's important to remember that storage and preservation matter greatly. Keeping your coins in a dry, cool place, preferably in protective holders, can help maintain their condition. Avoid cleaning them, as even gentle rubbing can scratch the surface and destroy their value. The natural toning and patina that develop over time are part of the coin's history. Embrace them rather than erase them. As we near the end of our journey, let's reflect on the enduring charm of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. It's more than just copper and metal, it's the story of America itself, told through decades of design, craftsmanship, and symbolism. From 1909 to 1958, these pennies captured the heart of a nation, and today, they continue to captivate collectors worldwide. The 1952 LINCOIN Wheat Penny, with its Denver roots, copper brilliance, and hidden varieties, remains a cornerstone of the Lincoln series. Whether you find one in a coin roll, inherit a collection from a family member, or buy one at a coin show, owning this penny connects you directly to a remarkable chapter in U.S. history. So the next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. You never know what secrets it might hold. That little coin could be a 1952 wheat penny, one of the hidden treasures of the mid-20th century, quietly waiting to be rediscovered by someone like you. And now, the question everyone's been waiting for: how much can one of these rare 1952 LINCOIN Wheat pennies actually be worth today? Well, depending on its condition, color, strike quality, and rarity, one exceptional example of this coin has reached a mind-blowing price of $32,250. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny from 1952, worth more than many people's cars today. That's the magic of numismatics, turning small pieces of metal into priceless artifacts of history. So, if you ever come across a 1952 wheat penny, don't just toss it aside. Examine it carefully, preserve it, and who knows, maybe you'll be holding one of the most valuable little treasures ever to come out of the Denver Mint. We're uncovering the hidden history and value of one of the most iconic pieces ever struck, the 1953 LINCOIN Wheat Penny. This small copper coin may look ordinary, but beneath its simple design lies an amazing story of minting artistry, historic significance, and the chance of life-changing value if you happen to own the right one. So, get ready as we explore how this humble 1-cent coin from 1953 became a collector's treasure, and why some of these pennies are worth thousands of dollars today. The history behind the 1953 LINCOIN Wheat Penny. Let's rewind time and go back to the early 1950s. America was in the midst of a booming post-war era, prosperity was rising, industries were thriving, and the U.S. Mint continued producing coins that reflected the nation's strength and unity. The LINCOIN Wheat Penny, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, had already become a beloved American coin. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this penny featured the timeless portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and a pair of wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing national growth and abundance. By 1953, this design had already seen over 4 decades of use. Yet, the penny remained a vital part of American life. It jingled in lunch counters, candy store registers, and children's piggy banks across the country. Despite inflation and the introduction of newer coin designs, the Lincoln Wheat Cent continued to hold sentimental and economic value. The year 1953 marked a significant chapter in this coin's history. It was one of the last few years before the famous wheat ear reverse would be retired, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Because of that, the 1953 pennies became part of the final generation of true wheat cents, coins that collectors would cherish for decades to come. Where the 1953 pennies were minted in 1953, 3 different U.S. mint facilities struck Lincoln Wheat pennies: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Each mint produced coins with its own small but crucial differences. The Philadelphia Mint coins were struck without any mint mark below the date. These are the plain 1953 pennies. The Denver Mint coins carry the letter D under the date, and the San Francisco Mint coins bear the letter S. While millions of these coins were produced, not all were created equal. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 256 million pennies, the Denver Mint produced over 700 million, and the San Francisco Mint made about 181 million. But the real magic lies not in the quantity, it's in the details, errors, and condition, design and composition. The 1953 Lincoln penny features the same beautiful and familiar design that made this series so iconic. On the obverse side, we see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to his left, and the year, 1953, to his right, with the mint mark just below the date when applicable. The reverse showcases two stylized wheat ears bending inward toward the center inscriptions, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the motto, E Pluribus Unum, above. Each coin was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. Its rich reddish-brown color and distinctive design make it instantly recognizable to collectors and historians alike. Why the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny is so valuable now. Let's talk about the exciting part, what makes the 1953 penny so valuable. While billions were minted, only a fraction survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Over time, coins lose their luster, develop scratches, and tarnish from everyday use. But those few that were carefully preserved or accidentally forgotten in storage remain in near-perfect condition, and that's where the true value lies. Collectors seek coins that look as fresh as the day they were struck, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. High-grade examples with blazing red color and sharp details can bring serious money at auction. Additionally, certain 1953 pennies contain rare minting errors or die varieties, making them even more desirable. Let's explore some of these special cases. Rare errors and varieties. Error coins are among the most thrilling discoveries for collectors. The 1953 Lincoln penny has several known varieties that can command incredible premiums. One popular variety is the D over D repunched mint mark, seen on some 1953 D coins. This happens when the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, creating a slightly doubled or shadowed D. Collectors love this kind of mechanical flaw because it captures a real moment in minting history. Another exciting error is the double die obverse. In this variety, certain letters or numbers on the front of the coin appear doubled, particularly noticeable on Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date. A strong double die 1953 penny can easily jump from a common coin to a rare collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Then there are off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, and lamination errors, which make each coin unique and highly collectible. Even small variations can add value, especially if the error is visually striking and easily recognizable. How to identify the most valuable 1953 pennies. If you're lucky enough to have some 1953 pennies lying around, here's what you should look for to determine if they're worth serious money. Check the mint mark. Look just below the date on the obverse. Coins with a D or S may be worth more depending on their condition. Examine the color. Coins come in three main color designations: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. Fully red coins are the most desirable and valuable. Inspect for errors. Look closely under magnification for signs of doubling, repunched mint marks, or other unusual features. Check the condition. Coins graded mint state, MS, 65 or higher can bring huge premiums. Get it professionally graded. If your coin appears flawless, consider submitting it to a grading service. This can authenticate and preserve its value. Market value and auction highlights over the years. 1953 Lincoln pennies in top condition have amazed collectors with record-breaking sales. For instance, a 1953 D Lincoln wheat penny graded MS 67 red by PCGS once sold for several $1,000s due to its exceptional preservation and fiery color. Similarly, a 1953 S in mint state red has brought equally impressive prices when perfectly struck and well-centered. Even circulated coins, when combined with a rare error or striking flaw, can reach hundreds of dollars. Collectors love these coins not just for their rarity but for their historical charm. Every 1953 penny is like a tiny time capsule from mid-century America, a symbol of a nation full of optimism and post-war growth. Why collectors love the 1953 wheat penny? There's something magical about holding a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of American legacy. For coin enthusiasts, this penny represents one of the last few years of the wheat design, making it an essential addition to any Lincoln cent collection. Collectors admire its classic design, fine details, and copper glow. Many start their numismatic journey with Lincoln wheat pennies because they're accessible, rich in history, and full of potential surprises. The 1953 issue also appeals to those who appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship of early to mid-20th century minting. Victor David Brenner's design has stood the test of time, and this coin continues to remind us of Lincoln's enduring legacy. Tips for preserving your 1953 pennies: if you have a 1953 penny, handle it carefully. Oils and dirt from your fingers can damage its surface. Always hold coins by the edges and store them in protective holders or coin flips. Keep them in a cool, dry environment away from sunlight or humidity. Avoid cleaning your coins, as even gentle cleaning can reduce their value dramatically. Collectors and grading services prefer coins in their original, untouched condition. The enduring value of the 1953 penny today. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny remains one of the most popular collectible coins in the hobby. Whether it's a simple brown circulated coin or a blazing red gem from a mint roll, every 1953 penny has a story to tell. It represents a moment in American history, an era of optimism and craftsmanship, and a tribute to one of the nation's greatest leaders. For some collectors, the thrill of finding one of these coins in near-perfect condition is like discovering hidden treasure. And indeed, it can be, because while most are worth only a few cents, a select few are valued at thousands. We're going deep into the fascinating world of American coinage history, exploring one of the most collectible and historically rich coins ever made, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny. This coin, small in size but massive in value to collectors, has a story filled with history, minting mastery, hidden errors, and even a few that turned out to be worth an incredible fortune. So, sit back and stay tuned as we uncover everything you need to know about the 1957 wheat penny, from its creation and design to its market value and the one rare piece that shocked the coin world with its unbelievable price tag at auction. Story of creation. Let's rewind to the 1950s, a golden era in American history. Dwight D. Eisenhower was the president, Elvis Presley was revolutionizing music, and the post-war economy was booming. In 1957, the U.S. Mint in Denver struck millions of Lincoln wheat pennies, each one featuring the proud face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that had already become a national symbol of honor and freedom. The Wheat Penny series, which started in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday, had become one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic image. His initials, VDB, are subtly engraved near the edge of the coin, a signature of artistry that adds depth to its legacy. But the 1957 D mint mark tells a unique story. The D represents the Denver Mint, one of the most productive mints in the United States. That year, Denver struck more than 1 billion wheat pennies, 1,051,342,000 to be exact. While that's a huge number, don't let it fool you. Within those billions, there are a few rare varieties, errors, and well-preserved coins that can make collectors' hearts race and wallets open wide. Design and details. Now, let's talk design. The obverse, or front side, features Abraham Lincoln's profile, detailed and dignified, facing right. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year, 1957, are neatly placed around him. Just below the year sits the small D mint mark, a sign that your coin came from Denver. Flip it over, and you'll see the reverse side, two stylized wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum. This design earned the coin its nickname, the wheat penny. It's simple yet elegant, symbolizing growth, prosperity, and the agricultural strength of America. History of value. When these coins first rolled out of the Denver Mint, they were just 1 cent each, the price of a stick of gum or part of a soda. But over the decades, the 1957 D wheat penny gained fame among collectors for its place at the end of the wheat penny era. By 1959, the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat design with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, marking the end of an iconic coin series. This transition made the 1957 D among the final wheat pennies ever made, and that historical importance gives it a special place in numismatic circles. Collectability and rarity. While billions were made, not all 1957 D pennies are created equal. Collectors look for factors like condition, strike quality, luster, and mint errors. Those details can transform a common penny into a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In lower circulated grades, you might find the 1957 D worth just a few cents, but in uncirculated condition, things get exciting. A 1957 D Lincoln wheat penny with a strong strike, full red color, and no visible marks can be worth from $10 to $50 or more, depending on its grade. But if your coin is certified as MS67 red or higher by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, you're stepping into rare territory. These high-grade coins are gems, shining with original mint luster and preserved perfectly for decades. Famous minting errors. Now, let's talk about what makes coin collecting thrilling: the errors. Some 1957 D wheat pennies were struck with fascinating mistakes, and those are the ones that can truly change your fortune. Among the most famous are double die errors, where the design elements appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die. This can make the letters in Liberty or the date 1957 appear slightly doubled, a small detail that collectors pay big money for. Another rare type is the off-center strike, where the design doesn't align correctly on the coin's surface. Some coins were struck 10%, 20%, or even 50% off-center, giving them a distinct crescent shape. The more dramatic the error, the higher the value. There's also the repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was stamped more than once, causing it to look doubled or shadowed. A strong, visible repunched mint mark on a 1957 D penny can make it a desirable variety for collectors chasing unique details. Condition and grading. If you happen to own a 1957 D wheat penny, the first step to knowing its value is understanding its condition. Coin grading is done on a scale from 1 to 70, where 1 means heavily worn and 70 means flawless perfection. A well-worn 1957 D might be worth around 5 to 10 cents. A lightly circulated one can fetch around $1 to $3. In brilliant uncirculated condition, you could be looking at $10 to $50. And a gem-quality MS67 red example could fetch hundreds or even thousands, especially if certified by PCGS or NGC. Some collectors even specialize in building full sets of Lincoln wheat pennies, from 1909 through 1958, and completing that collection with a stunning 1957 D is a must. Metal composition and historical change. The 1957 D wheat penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the same classic composition used since 1909. That high copper content gives it its rich reddish-brown color. But it also means that as copper prices rise, even the metal itself can carry intrinsic value beyond 1 cent. By comparison, later pennies, especially those minted after 1982, were changed to mostly zinc with a thin copper plating. That's why older wheat pennies like the 1957 D not only hold nostalgic value but also true metallic worth. Collector insights for collectors. The 1957 D represents the golden twilight of the wheat penny era. It's a piece of history you can hold in your hand, one that reminds us of an America full of growth, change, and optimism. The coin's connection to Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in U.S. history, adds even more meaning. Many enthusiasts say that the 1957 D is one of the best coins for beginners in coin collecting. It's affordable, easy to find in decent grades, yet it also has varieties and high-grade examples that keep advanced collectors interested. It bridges the gap between casual hobbyists and serious numismatists. Finding one in your pocket. Imagine finding a 1957 D wheat penny in your change today. That little coin might have traveled through decades of American history. It could have bought candy in the 1950s, paid for gas in the 1970s, or sat forgotten in a jar for years. Now, it could be your ticket to a surprising treasure. So if you ever come across one, check for these key things: a sharp and clean D mint mark, full details in Lincoln's hair and beard, strong luster and color, preferably a bright red tone. No scratches or wear on the wheat stalks on the reverse side. Any unusual markings that could indicate an error. A combination of these features can make your penny worth far more than just 1 cent. Auction stories over the years. A few 1957 D wheat pennies in pristine, gem red condition have fetched incredible prices at major coin auctions. Collectors compete fiercely to own the finest examples, especially those graded MS67 red or higher. Some of these coins have sold for thousands of dollars due to their rarity, quality, and perfect preservation. There are even stories of lucky individuals finding near-perfect 1957 D pennies in old rolls or collections and later selling them for impressive profits. Final thoughts: the 1957 D Lincoln wheat penny isn't just a small copper coin, it's a symbol of America's enduring spirit. From its roots in the early 20th century to its final years in the 1950s, it has carried the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the pride of craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery for generations. Every collector, whether beginner or seasoned, treasures this coin for what it represents, a bridge between history and value, between the ordinary and the extraordinary. It reminds us that even the smallest things can hold big stories, and sometimes, big fortunes. So, if you're ever sorting through an old jar of pennies or checking your pocket change, take a closer look. That 1957 D wheat penny might just be your lucky find, a small, shining piece of American history with the potential to be worth far more than you imagine.